Hey guys, it's Misty with My Paper Cuts, and I am back on for my last in this series of my flower making process, sharing my tips and tricks and the things that I use and the things that I do when I make some flowers. And this is all about adding the final details, adding, just the extra oomph to the flowers and, options for your centers. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that you can add, if you have a spray that you would like to use. For instance, there are Distress Oxide sprays. There's the Perfect Pearls sprays. There's all sorts of, a lot of us have picked up the Tattered Angel sprays when they were at Tuesday Morning. There's the little smooch sprays. There's all sorts of different sprays that you can add in. I like to add the sprays, especially the shimmer sprays on certain flowers, but I always wait till this point in the process. So if I was doing some that I wanted to have with a spray, these would still just be solid white. And if you remember, all these flowers were made from just white cardstock. I'm not showing you guys anything with any of the pattern papers or anything. I just stuck with the white cardstock flowers. So they would be solid white right now, and then I would put them into the cardboard box that I use when I spray items, and I would add my color now. I like to do that after the assembly process because if you spray them with water to do the molding, then the inks could run again, and then they get into your mold and they make a mess and all of that. So I like to add my sprays at the end if I'm going to do it. And a lot of times I will do a clear spray, which, let me see if I have it real handy. There's the mica sprays and everything, but I also have, well, not real handy, but there are clear shimmer sprays. Hero Arts makes a fantastic one that you could add at the end if you already have color. But again, keep in mind, if you're using a water-soluble color and you add a spray on top of it, that color could run again. So I just always like to remind of that because I've had some frustration in the past where I have everything colored exactly the way I want it, and then I spray it and all that pink runs away. So that is kind of a frustrating thing. The next thing that you can also do is at this point, you could still add more color with your blending tools. You could ink around the edges of the petals. You could add highlights to the raised pieces to add more depth and dimension. So you could get out your daubers or your brushes or however you're doing it, and you could add more ink if you wanted to add even more layers. And then the other things that you can do is, I'm going to go ahead with the centers now. So I prefer to add stamens, and there is such a wealth of flower stamens out there. That is why I asked for them with my Secret Santa, which I did get some from Becca, which were these, and I'm so happy because I get different colors. Now, I have ordered a ton of different ones. I have some from Sizzix. I have these kind of rock candy ones that I got from Heartfelt Creations. Crafter's Companion carries some. And I got this bucket of them with pretty much every color you could want from Amazon. And some come on a wire, and these again are Heartfelt Creations. And they're just, and then you can get them in bundles like this, which is also what Becky sent me, which I just love. So there's so many different types. There's these bulby ones. There's the more, natural looking pointy ones. There's these ones, like I said, that look like rock candy, like the old school rock candy that we used to eat as kids. There's just tons of them out there. And then you can also get them, you can get the things on wires that have like beads on them. You can get, you could take apart flowers in Michael's and Hobby Lobby and, the fake flowers. Some of the ones at Dollar Tree, the flowers themselves aren't very nice, but what they use in the center is a great center. So I will buy those just for the centers. I buy Christmas picks all the time, and I harvest pieces off of those to put in the centers of my flowers. And then if you don't want to do stamens, there's also things like, we all buy these. You could do glitter, you could do buttons, you could do micro beads, you could do the vintage glass glitter. You could do, here's a product that I wanted to share too, that I have a bunch of. And it's kind of hard to find now, I believe, but it's called Flower Soft. And it's literally like this powdery, and I think there's a couple of companies that carry it, and they call it pollen. And that's exactly what it looks like, is a pollen-y mixture. And you could just use this with your glues. I like to use art glitter glue for mediums like this. But this is really, really great in the centers of flowers as well. And I have a plethora of those colors. You could just use your stickles and loose glitters. You could use Nuvo drops. You could use anything that your little heart desires to put in the center of a flower to make it stand out. So I do have some other, like some sample flowers at the end that I will show you. But my first love when I'm making flowers, and what I think takes them to the next level, is adding stamens. And so I was going to show you guys how I do that. So you can use either thread or wire, and I prefer wire. And I just grabbed this little bobbin of this really super fine gauge wire. This is green, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to show in the end. This is literally just a tool to help with the stamens. So I will cut a length of wire for each flower that I'm working on. And then I will select my stamens. So my magic number for most flowers seems to be 3 or 5, depending on the size of the flower. Now, like I showed with these ones, these already come with the wires, so you won't need to do that. You would just push the wire through the center of your flower and your stamen would get pulled through. But for these double-ended ones, which is one of the most common ways to find them and one of the most affordable ways to find them, they have stamens on each end. And they're really fine, but they're on a string. So what I will do is I will get my bundle of stamens. You take your piece of wire, you put it on the center of the bundle of stamens and fold it around. And then if you grab your stamens like so and pull them up, then you can twist your wire so that you have a bundle of stamens on this piece of wire. So see, they're stuck in there now. So then you take this piece of wire, or it's got the two ends on it now, but then you would push them through the hole that you created in the center of your flower and pull. And you can pull them as far in as you want. I usually will just go as far as it will go. But sometimes you want like the longer stamens, because that is how a lot of flowers look. And then you can add a drop of glue to the back here and let it dry. And then once it's dry, you could trim off just the strings, because see, this wire is all the way up there now. So you could actually save this wire if you want, or you could just toss it. I usually save the pieces, but so that is how you would do that. Now, one of the things I like to do when I'm adding stamens to my flowers is, before I pull the stamens all the way through, I will put in some stickles or some glitter or some flocking or that Flower Soft. So I'm just going to use these glitter accents from Nuvo for this demonstration. But if you wanted to, you could do regular glue and then add whatever your medium is. But I will go ahead and add my little dollop of whatever I want in the center here. And then pull the stamens down so that the stamens are down in the glitter and it becomes part of the center of your flower. And so that will dry. And usually when I do that, I don't really need to add any glue to the back, because there's already glue on those stamen strings to hold it into place. So I like to do centers like that, especially when it comes to like poinsettias and stuff where you're adding glitter, or you could add snow to the center. So that is how I would do the stamens. And here's a sample of, I took one of those carnations and didn't really make it a carnation, but I think that that particular Stampin' Die set just makes really cool general flowers. So, and I just added some gold stamens to the center of that and that one. And then for these ones here, I haven't decided exactly what I want to do yet with the stamens, but I will eventually do that. But what I wanted to demonstrate for my last piece here is the very finishing touches that you can add to these flowers. So there's so many options for this. You could add glitter, which you could do like your loose glitters with just your glue. You could do the stickles or the glitter accents like what I was showing you before. You could do Nuvo drops. You could do flocking, which again you could do with glitter or with glitter glue, and you just sprinkle the flocking on there. For those of you who haven't seen this before, it's literally just a powder flocking. That adds a nice velvety texture to things. You could add, also you could add gilding flakes. And for all of these things, I would use either a makeup wedge, like one of these, and I would squirt some glue onto just a little piece of cardstock or a piece of acetate or an old piece of packaging or something, dip into the glue, and then take the flower and dab it with the glue, and then dip it into glitter or whatever I'm using. So for instance, this is how I keep my diamond dust. And so for that purpose, like for this one, let's say, you could squirt your glue onto this. I don't have one right here, but you could squirt your glue onto there, and you could dab it with your makeup brush, and then you could just take it and you could just push it into the art or into the diamond dust, and then you would have just a finish of glitter on that. And I do have a sample flower that I just happen to have where that was done. So you can see it's just around the edges there. So that is a nice way just to add like loose glitter or your gilding flakes or flocking or however you want with like a loose medium. There is another product out there that is really helpful for adding that if you can find it, and it's called the glue sponge. And this is pretty cool. I do love this. So it's literally exactly how it sounds. It is glue with a sponge in the container. I'm going to get my diamond dust back out here. And you just press down into the glue, into the sponge, and it comes out with glue on it. And then you can put it into your diamond dust or whatever your medium is. And you can see there that it's all stuck on there now beautifully. So this, and that's pretty much the only use I use this glue sponge for. A lot of people that have trouble squeezing bottles will buy this product, and then they will take like their ephemera piece and tap it down and then glue it down. It's just, it might be easier for people who have dexterity issues, but it is a handy thing to have when you're wanting to add just touches of something like diamond dust to your flowers. So, and then another one of my very favorite things to do is to add embossing or embossing glazes to my flowers. And for that, I'll use a similar technique. I have here my Ink on 3 embossing ink, and I have some Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold, I believe this is, yeah, ultrafine antique gold embossing powder, and a coffee filter. So then I'll take one of the flowers and I'll press it into my embossing ink. And then if you want a delicate touch with your embossing, you could just dump out your powder and dip into the powder again. Tap off the excess. It's hard to see on there, but I'm going to go ahead and heat it with my heat tool. Sorry, it probably will get loud. And then you'll get that gilded effect on the tops of your flowers. Sorry, it's hard to see in the camera here for me, but that is one of my very, very favorite things to do. You can do it super heavy or you could do it lighter, depending on your preference. But that is a nice way to add a beautiful touch to your flowers, and there's so many embossing powders out there you could do that with. And then if you don't mind having a heavier touch on it, like if it gets down into the bottom around there, you could do the same thing, pressing a little bit harder, and then you could actually just dump your embossing powder onto it, and then see you'll get a much heavier look, because it will get stuck in the crevices and things, and you know, don't tap it off too much. And I wouldn't necessarily hold it with your fingers. I seem to have asbestos hands, but, and then again, just heat it up. And then you'll get a really heavy gilded effect on your flowers. So that is one of my other favorite things to do when I'm finishing out my flowers here, is to add all of that. And then, I mean, there's also, if you want to go with the more natural effect, you could do, you could glue on, you could do feathers in the centers of your flowers. You could do moss as a decorative element, glue it on. You could add wood pieces to the center. You could do your confetti if you want a more whimsical, bright look. But I wanted to share a couple of samples of things that I've done. So this is the carnation when I fully assembled it to make it 3D. I made it with matching papers to this collection, and I added stickles to the edges. And then I have a container here. I have the ones I made this year of some different flowers. Again, I put some stickles down in the center when I put the stamens in. I think I did that on this one as well. And then I have also have some poinsettias that I made last year. And like these ones I did with a very vintage paper, and in the center I did some vintage glass glitter. And on the backs here is where I'm showing that I like to do those circles on the very bottom. Once I cut off the stamen pieces and my flower is done, I will go through and add a circle, and you could do it with just white like I have ready to go here, or you could do it again with the scraps of pattern paper, but that just gives you a nice surface to actually glue your flowers down. So I have some here that I haven't removed the stamens from yet, but I did clear glitter on those. I mean, the possibilities are just truly, truly, truly endless. There's so many different things you could do. That has a chunky clear glitter on it. I think I have one in here that I did, like here's some polka dot ones. Very whimsical, but still semi-vintage. You know, you could use book paper. You can use music paper. See if I can get that to focus. You can use music paper, book paper, gift wrap paper. I mean, there's just so many options to make beautiful, beautiful flowers. Of course, I'm mostly showing poinsettias today because it is Christmas time, but I mean, it applies to everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little series. If you have any further questions or concerns or issues, just let me know, and I'm going to finish out these flowers, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.